Hi, hello, how are you all this fine day? I hope that if you're here, you subscribe to this channel if you're not already, and you check out everything that is down below. There is my website, social media, email newsletter, all the things that you should check out. Would love to have you there. If you can't tell, I'm in a new location and I will figure out the setup that we're going to go with in the next couple of times that we meet. So give me grace on that. And with that change that I discussed in my previous video that I will link somewhere in those places of dealing with change. And you know, I've moved states, I'm in a different setup, I'm in a house with a roommate instead of like a room in a larger building with other people where I could basically just be on my own and not communicate with anyone, and it was just fine. And I'm coming back to a situation where I do have my own space in my room, but there is much closer communication with other people. And that adjustment of kind of reacquainting myself with the reality of how exhausting that can be. You know, there were pros and cons to where I was before, but a pro was that I could kind of really conserve my energy and just choose to be on my own and often not have to worry about other people. At least, you know, that close contact and relationship. So as I'm coming back to that and I'm transitioning again, I realize how exhausting that is. This is the first time that I have been fully aware that I was neurodivergent, that I was autistic, and living with other people. One other person, but just in general. And it's interesting to become aware again of the little things that can be so exhausting that, especially in a COVID world, you really didn't have to deal with. And I guess I've been noticing just how exhausted I get by things that people just don't think about, that they don't find tiring, that they're very okay with. And my tolerance is different. There can be a sense of inadequacy in that, especially when the topic of being autistic doesn't necessarily come up in those day-to-day conversations. But it's just part of that adjustment, and it's a part of giving yourself that patience that you deserve. And before, when I've had roommates, it's been so difficult. I didn't necessarily know why. I just knew I just didn't like roommates or living with other people that weren't like my family. But knowing now that I'm autistic, there's a greater sense of empowerment and obvious awareness in that, so that I've been very, very open about me and what works best for me, and just learning that as I go along, because it's a learning process for everyone. You can't beat yourself up about it. You have to really emphasize the strengths that you might have, and relishing those moments that you're in a good headspace, and knowing when it's okay to retreat. Because even after just a full day, my first full day of living with someone else and having a couple of Zoom meetings, I was exhausted. And in my head, I'm thinking, this seems extreme, but what's new? It's just a whole process. It's this readjustment period, and it's more than possible to thrive being autistic and having a roommate, which in of itself is a reality for a lot of people. And depending on how you thrive best, maybe you need to live with someone else and you couldn't think of living on your own. In which case, you have to be so open and honest and be vulnerable in what you need, which is hard for anyone, but especially when you're trying to explain how you are, when that can feel practically like a language gap and you're trying to translate. And you never know what others might experience themselves. You never know what kind of little pockets of joy and surprise there might be. So, although every single time that I've had a roommate before, it's been really not fun, I've really relied upon having some sort of space that I can close the door and be on my own, and kind of just retreating there and living there for most of the time. I see there's still room for growth, and that growth is for me and hopefully for others too. Because you might feel like it might be a burden to be autistic and living with someone that's neurotypical, and you just have completely different ways of existing. What you see as a burden could be a really important opportunity that others likely won't experience, or they might not know they experienced. And you never know what might happen. Keeping your mind open as it can be, because that can be hard for us. I find that I like to really focus on ideas and spaces and all of that that are closed and contained, and have very clear boundaries, but I'm trying to gently ease that space open and just kind of peek around and see what might be lurking out there. So hopefully this ramble was helpful in any sort of way. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below if you have lived with neurotypical people, if you are neurotypical and you've had a neurodivergent roommate or someone you've lived with, and any other thoughts and experiences. I would love to hear them and start a conversation down below. And with that, so many blessings to you. Please subscribe if you're not already. Help us reach 500. That'd be so cool. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.